Good morning. I used up most of my wood last night, and it's cold outside, and I don't want to go out and get more wood this morning to make breakfast. So I'm going to do breakfast inside the shelter and not build a fire, just use my jet boil and cook breakfast while I'm in bed. That's about as lazy and soft as you can get, I think, but good enough for me this morning. Maybe. There we go. So, see if the jet boil will crank up. Usually, if it's a real cold night, I'll keep the fuel canister in my sleeping bag with me, because on some cold mornings the fuel gets cold enough, thick enough, I don't know what the problem is, but it has a tough time starting some days. But if you keep it in your sleeping bag, there's no problem. Last night I thought it was probably going to be warm enough I could keep it outside, but we'll see now if I was right. It feels pretty stiff. There we go. It's having a little trouble. Alright, so on the menu this morning, I'm going to boil up some water and make some postum. And then I brought some pre-made croissants with ham and egg and cheese on them. So that's what I'm going to go with. Just warm it up. So we got the water on to boil. Now this is my pan holder, so I can put a fry pan on top of the jet boil. Don't know if you noticed last night, probably did, when I was cutting up my steaks, how black and dirty my hands are. That's kind of permanent. If you use that pine resin or fir tree resin and use that for your tinder, pretty tough to get that off. But it's clean dirt. Doesn't come off, so it must not get onto your food. If it sticks on your fingers, it won't come off. So that's what I'm going to cook up here in a minute once I get the jet boil going, or get the water boiled. Alright, now we just sit and wait. Shouldn't take too long. Okay, we got the postum done. Actually, I tried something different this morning. It's postum with hot chocolate in it, so it's a gourmet drink this morning for sure. So chocolate postum. Now we'll warm up the croissants. Now my little adapter. I don't know if you can hear those sizzling, but they are sizzling. Just about done. They don't need to cook, they just need to warm up a little bit. And they're definitely about there. Alright, I think that should do it. Ouch. Hot. Not bad for breakfast in bed. I was surprised this morning when I got out and checked the coals of last night's fire. It looked like it was completely out, but as I poked around with my bare hand, I found some live embers. So I threw a few dead pine needles on it and blew it into a flame, and that's what we've got already this morning without any extra fire starting. Alright, here's the scene from camp. I'll give you a 360 view. There's the shelter. Here's another view of camp. Cozy little campsite. I slept very warm last night. Didn't have to use any of my extra techniques to stay warm, like no hot water bottle, no booties on my feet. Even slept with the sleeping bag unzipped part of the night. It's not that it's warm out here, but it's certainly not as cold as it has been on some winter walkabouts. My project for today is to build a snow shelter called a quinzee. A quinzee is just a hollowed out pile of snow, and quinzees work best under powdery snow conditions where an igloo or a A-frame snow trench or a snow cave isn't really practical. But a quinzee uses the process of sintering to take powder snow and make it into crusted snow. I don't understand the process entirely. I know it has to do with friction and compaction, causing the snow particles to stick together. So what I'm going to do this morning is pile up some snow, give it 2, 3, 4 hours, and then come back and hollow it out to make a quinzee. Several hours later, the quinzee is finished. If you'd like to see the entire construction process in greater detail, you should watch my video that I've called How I Make a Quinzee. Last summer when I made my video on tarp shelter upgrades, one of the viewers asked me why I put the tarp on the inside of this log exterior instead of on the outside. There's a couple of reasons. One is if the tarp is on the inside of the logs, the tarp is protected from sun and from wind. But another reason is
that if you're going to use this shelter year-round, now by having the tarp on the inside, I have the option of removing the tarp and then using it for an additional shelter, an awning or something on the outside that I can add on to my shelter overall. So if the tarp was on the outside, it would be under 2 to 3 feet of snow right now, and to remove it would be quite a challenge. And if I removed it, I would also remove all the insulation, of the snow insulation that's on the outside of my shelter. So put it on the inside, and today one of my projects is to remove the tarp from the inside of my shelter and then set it up here outside, maybe over the top of my fire pit area. Alright, so all I should need to do is just to cut these cords that I've got it fastened down. Just need to find them and cut them. One. Alright, now here's what the inside of my shelter looks like without the tarp liner. It's almost like a little log cabin. Between the moss chinking and the snow insulation on the outside, this is a pretty weather-tight shelter.